Hello, everybody. Welcome to another review of The Oval. If you like reviews like this, please subscribe because I do these reviews every week after every episode. Now, let's get into it. So, Max, he has to try to persuade Bobby not to run into Donald's house all half cocked and possibly ruin the whole plan. And Max is like, "You're going to risk everything." And Bobby's like, "Yes, I will risk everything for Lily." And I'm like, "Bobby, you can cost Lily her life. So you need to think this out." Because he was freaking out because he saw Kyle dragging that bag out. He thought that was Lily, but really it was just Kyle's things that Lily told Kyle to get out of her house. And inside the house, Donald comes home and he tries to kiss Lily and she backs up like, "Mm-mm." I'm like, "Donald, you're really just gonna act like everything is normal, hunky dory, like this isn't a charade." And Lily, she makes him stand back for them to talk. And she says to him, she asks him why he chose her for this charade. And he tries to act like, he tries to front like he's not gay. He's like, "Well, I like Kyle, but I'm not gay. I love you," and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, "I heard you with him. That's what you like." And she brings up the fact that he tried to kill her. When they're talking, Bobby pops up in the house and he's got a gun pointed at Donald. And Lily she has to put on this whole act, and she's just like saying, "I want you to live," and all this, and Donald's like, "What are you talking about?" And she hugs Donald, and Bobby gets out of there, and I'm like, "Bobby, you're fixing to get Lily killed with your dumb antics. Think these things out." So let's talk about Richard and Nancy and all that. So Richard is fixing himself up to go out, and she wants to know where he's going, and all he wants is an answer. Who is Picky's father? And she still won't tell him, and she's like, "Well, I was at the funeral home and I really wanted you to be there, and Picky's funeral is tomorrow." And he gets out of there. He just leaves. And later on, Nancy calls up Priscilla and says, "Where is Richard going tonight? I think he's going out with some woman." And Priscilla's reluctant to say anything. And Nancy says, "Is it that Frida woman?" And yeah, so Nancy was hip to that. So Richard goes on his date and he's just putting on this game really, really heavy. And he's talking about how much he likes Frida and how much he wants to get together and blah, blah, blah. And Frida's like, "No, you're still married. You need to get divorced, and then we'll talk about..." See, I always forget to do this with my light and make sure that the laptop does not go to sleep. There we go. And she's like, "You need to get divorced. When you get divorced, we'll talk. We'll see where things go." That's what she was basically saying. And he was running all this game. It was just heavy. And he's like, "I want to make love to you." And she's like, "No." And so Nancy, she rolls up in there. She had on a red dress. And she was ready. She didn't see... She didn't just roll up in there in her house clothes, the street clothes, just regular walking around clothes. She put on a red dress that that was for going to dinner or whatever. So she was ready. She was not playing around. And so she sits down at the table. So I can't wait to see where that's gonna go. So let's talk about Sharon. Let's just get this out of the way because I am so over this part of the story. So Barry asked her why she didn't tell him before. And she's like, "Well, I don't know if I want a baby. I don't want a baby right now." And Barry says, "You know what? You're not having an abortion." And she's like, "This is my body," and all of that. And, they get into it. And And she ends up saying to him, "You can't even take care of the one child you have." And I'm like, that was a real low blow right there. She knows that, his daughter has been kidnapped, and it really was not fair to say that to him under those circumstances. That was absolutely wrong. And so they're arguing, and Nancy comes in and tries to break it up, and he says, "Why don't you go cook us something?" And Nancy's like, don't you not talk to me like that. I will slap the sugar honey iced tea out of you. So Nancy was not here for that. And so Sharon starts getting her things out of the drawers and packing up, and she's telling Nancy, "Can you can you hold him back?" And Barry's like, "Okay, so now you're saying I'm gonna hurt you. Is that what you're saying now?" Yeah. And basically Barry was pissed about that because it didn't even seem like he was gonna lay hands on her. Barry can be out there, but I don't think he would lay hands on Sharon. Now Kareem, yeah, he's laid hands on him and probably would do it again, but I don't think he would hurt Sharon. So Sharon goes over there to Kareem's house. He opens the door and lets her in, of course. He's like, "Oh, well, I have takeout. I have enough for two." And basically, she only wanted one thing from him. She's like, "Take off your clothes, don't say anything." And, she's just like using him. And I'm like, Kareem has no respect for himself, I said. So she just tells you to take off your clothes and don't say anything. And she just uses you like you are an object. And he's okay with that. And I'm like, okay. Which I shouldn't really be surprised at Kareem, because he's so thirsty, and and Sharon just goes back and forth. So I'm sure in the next couple of episodes she'll be back at Barry's house and trying to straighten things out like that. So I don't know. Sharon is a mess. So let's talk about here we go. So Jason. Okay, wait, I missed something. Okay. So Jason, he's lurking around outside of Alan's office. And Alan's like, he's looking like, "Who's there?" And Jason comes in, and he's got his package in his hand. So he's exposing himself to just about anybody he can at this point. And Alan's like, "Put it away. I don't want to see that." And finally Jason does do that, and they have a conversation, and Jason's like, "You know what? I've seen every inch of this house. I'm bored now." And because Alan said, "Well, this place can be pretty interesting." And Alan's trying to talk to him, and Alan says, "Well, I can be your friend." And Jason's like, "I don't have special needs." And I'm like, "Nope, you don't have special needs. You're nuts." And he has a nerve enough to be offended like it, even the suggestion that he had special needs. But he's far worse than that. He's killed 3 people and is just an all-around psycho. But he gets offended at the mere thought that somebody might have suggested he had special needs. Whatever. And then Jason, he shows up in Victoria's room, and he's just standing there like. And Victoria's like, "How did you get in here?" And he asks her, "Are you afraid? He's like, "You're not afraid of me?" And she's like, no. And so Victoria, I don't think she is afraid of him. I mean, she's probably like cautious, on guard in case she has to, like slice him up like she threatened to do. But I don't think she's afraid of him at all. And she ends up getting on the phone to Sam, and she's like, "I want to go for a run." and I want to do it tonight. And Sam's like, that's not safe right now, at night. And she says, okay, I'll have somebody else do it, set it up. And he's like, well, I'm your head detail now. So they all take orders from me. And she keeps pushing and pushing, and she's like, he's like, okay, I can set something up and we can run on the grounds tonight. And we all know that what she really wants from Sam. And we see in the preview what she wants, because she just flat out says it. She's just like, she's no better than Hunter. Like she's just trying to get up on somebody. Like, they're both tramps, her and Hunter. So, and speaking of Hunter, so he ends up having a conversation with Ellie, and she's bragging about how she has Diane looking crazy to everybody, and he asks her if she has any booze, and she's like, no, I'm working, but she does have some weed mints or something edible, some edibles or something. And this idiot Hunter, he just pops one. And I'm like, you're the president of the United States, and you're eating an item that somebody just gave you, and you know nothing about it. I mean, do you know how many people would like to take out the president of the United States? And it's like, and Hunter is just like, duh, so clueless to reality. And anyway, Victoria walks in, and she's telling Hunter, you need to come with me. My father called, and he doesn't want to come in. So she goes off and starts saying to Ellie, do you know how many STDs he has? And he's like, oh, I do not. And she tells Ellie, you might want to get your throat checked in that canyon you call it, you know what. Victoria just says everything. So let me get into Dale and Kyle. So I have no idea why Dale was just sitting in his truck outside of Kyle's place. I don't know why. It just seemed like the scene was written like very rushed and kind of sloppy as a way to put these two characters in the same orbit. So he's sitting outside there, and Kyle's like, what are you doing? Are you trying to rob me or something? And Dale's like, no, I was actually going to go down to get a drink. And Kyle's like, well, what bar? And he names a bar. I can't remember what he said. And Dale says, no, I'm going to Fabian. And so, of course, Kyle gets intrigued then. And he's like, I've never checked that place or whatever. But he's intrigued and whatever. And, Max is watching all this. And so Kyle ends up inviting Dale in for a drink. And Kyle's like lamenting his troubles. Like, no, don't ever fall in love with a married man and blah, blah, blah. And all of this. And then they end up singing along to this dance song, and I'm like, come on, Tyler, you really wrote this like this. This is just like stereotypical. It's like two gay characters are singing along to a dance track. That's just too absurd. So then, Max is inside Kyle's place, and they end up having a knockdown, drag-out fight. And I don't know if Kyle's going to get the upper hand, but we'll see what happens. So let's talk about, this is what I wanted to say for last. So at the hospital, of course, Priscilla was there, and Miss Laura was getting ready to say something, but then she went out of it again. So apparently she goes in and out and all of that. And so Priscilla, she tells Miss Laura's husband, okay, so I'm praying for you, all that, so keep me updated and everything. So Priscilla, she goes over to Jean's place and she sees it's ransacked. And, Greg had already told her it was ransacked, but I guess the shock was in seeing it for herself. She's like, oh my God, oh my God. It was clear that something really bad was going on and that Jean was not okay. So Greg calls her because he had gone home. And he found Jean dead in his bed. So of course they're gonna set him up for this. And Priscilla's like, oh, he's calling on the Priscilla on the phone. I found her. She's here. She's here. And he cuts off on the phone. And so Priscilla, she goes over there to Greg's place, and then she finds Greg dead in the bed with Jean. So clearly this has been set up as a murder suicide. I don't know who killed Greg, but I'm assuming it's whoever Hunter had set up, or maybe Victoria's father had it set up. But anyway, that was this week's episode of The Oval. Tell me what you think. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you the next time. Bye.